department, or we want to decertify fire department, that's when we come in and start sending our letters and trying to get some way to fix it other than decertification.
Yes, sir.
We can come in there and try to get them more training, try to get them more help, try to get them, that's what we want to do.
Right.
But when nothing's returned to us, and
This happens.
that happens.
Yes, sir, I understand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm county attorney, that's from the legal perspective.
Yes, sir.
Y'all fund, how the volunteer fire departments in the county are funded through some allocation from the forestry commission? Or
They do get an annual check from us. It's a grant check from us. It's not, a terrible amount of money, but they do get money from us.
what happens to that money?
That would be something that, and that would come up when I talked to our attorney this morning. That would be something you guys as a commission would want to look into. We don't look into the finances.
That was my question.
Right, but
Because I know somebody's getting funding and somebody's got to
Right.
account for the funding, or
Right. I know
it ain't exactly kosher and right.
Right.
I don't know,
Because
I'm
they-
trying not to use the wrong word here, but
Bullock County gets the state, and it's about $1,900 a year. What else does Bullock County get as far as tax? Tobacco tax. So a tobacco tax and the state grant, and another was $10,000 from last year, the ARPA money, that I'm pretty sure they put in for a gap. So there would be some checking that I would want to do if I was you guys.
did each department get $10,000?
Each department put in a gap, yes.
So I'm just asking you, because I don't know the answer to these, but if a fire department is not responding to, and I heard you say they weren't
Right.
responding, then do these volunteer fire departments draw some form of stipend?
No.
Where does that money go?
It should be an account, whoever the treasurer is, it should be in an account.
All of it?
Yeah, and they're, I can't speak for them because I don't know, but each department, if you're dealing with tax money, which you guys know, and general fund type money, that needs to be separate. So there should be at least 2 accounts, should be. They
But
could,
each one of those departments have their own.
each department has their own
financial-
finances, yes, sir.
And they're so
The
I guess
treasurer.
who monitors to them to be sure that, like, we have an auditor that
Yeah.
comes in and audits the county commission.
The County Fire Association can have an audit every year. There's some counties that require their counties to have an audit, or their departments to have an audit, especially if they get millage money, which some counties get a millage tax. Evidently, Bullock County don't. But they'll have a private one come in there and audit them. So some of them don't audit, some of them do audit. That's probably where there is an issue across the state.
So there should be some funds.
There should be
somewhere
funding, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
that haven't been utilized because they haven't been active.
Right.
They're there, Mr. Chairman, they can correct, but that's what we have on our agenda today to vote on, for as accountability for nonprofit entities. That's what we're voting on today, to have some type of check and balance on that going forward, with that.
If they don't reorganize, can those funds be transferred to the other fire departments in the county?
I'm gonna have to check on that to see. If they don't reorganize, let me contact our council to see. And he's probably gonna tell me that he'll have to check. But I'll check on
Money would
it.
have to be returned to wherever it came from.
And not reimbursed or throughout the county, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm just gonna ask about that on the tobacco tax level too, because we cut those checks and allocated between the 9. So I mean, if we would have to reallocate it between those 8 instead of 9 now, I mean, I don't know how.
Yeah.
We have to go before the state and see, can we?
Can you reallocate your right and just take the one out, yeah.
Right. Right.
So
I would think the money would have to come back, be accounted for into the fund,
and then
and then it would be reallocated based on the number
the
of.
tobacco tax should be able to, since it's a tax collected from Bullock County, it should be fine. Now, that state grant check and the ARPA money, I'm not sure, because it comes straight through the state finance.
If they haven't responded in a couple of years, they could have as much as $30,000 or $40,000.
I mean, possible. I'm not exactly sure. Could be.
Sometimes people have other methods, I will,
monthly meetings, fire association meetings that all 8 departments are invited to. Notifications are sent out to the chiefs. The chief can't make it, the assistant chief can make it, or someone from that department that can cast a vote if we have anything to vote on. Commissioners, I brought this problem to y'all several years ago. I brought it to y'all several months ago. I've talked with you, and Ms. Rivers was here asking the county for money last year, and I got up and spoke that that's not what they need. They need some organization and they need manpower. They need equipment. But you can give them $10 million if you don't have anyone to run that equipment out there. The equipment's been sitting out in the weather, freezing weather. All fire departments are supposed to be freeze-proof because you're carrying anywhere from 700 gallons of water to 1,000, 1,500 gallons of water. If it sits in a cast iron pump, it's going to freeze and bust the pump. Now, you might not think, well, we can replace the pump. It's not a water pump, so to speak, on the motor. It's about a $40,000 or $50,000 piece of equipment sitting upon that fire truck. So Union Springs, we've tried to help them. Fitzpatrick has tried to help them. It's like they don't want to be helped. It is not fair to raise money for that fire department or any fire department and not utilize that money or not respond to calls. Union Springs was covering that area, helping cover that area until my council told me to stop. I was outside my jurisdiction. I had too much exposures up here to protect, to go out there where they're supposed to be a fire department. Fitzpatrick Fire Department's been helping cover that area. We don't mind going and help a fire department, but we're not going to fight that fire department's fires when they sit back and do absolutely nothing.
Rob, what would happen, they are decommissioned, there's not a fire department there at all anymore. Will you all redraw your lines and say where you'll go help? Will Fitzpatrick come over help, Shopper come over help? Will Union Springs come over help? Or will it just be a community with no volunteer assistance at all?
I can't speak for the rest of the departments, but Union Springs cannot go out there. I'm outside my boundaries. Now, if they ask for help, I will send my old truck out there. But I can't go out there.
That's for any neighborhood in the county or just Cornerstone?
No, that's for anybody that comes and helps us. We do not officially have mutual aid agreements throughout the whole county because my council does not want me to go outside the police jurisdiction, even though at certain times I do it. But I cannot go out and fight somebody else's fires and get caught with my pants down up here. I have too much coverage up here, including this building. I cannot speak for the other fire departments to see they would redistrict or redo the districts out there. But, sir, back in the 50s, 60s, Union Springs was only fire department. Then Midway started up. That's how fire departments begin. They see the need and they start organizing a fire department. So once again, Fitzpatrick has donations, fundraisers, and how some of their people are going to fund that fire department to go fight fires in another department that has no fire department. I mean, it's sort of conflict of interest, or, you know, I'm supporting Fitzpatrick and they're way out somewhere else. They're gone, they're not protecting what I'm paying them to protect. Like I said, this has been going on a while. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody here or anybody in Cornerstone because it's been a problem for the last 7 to 8 years. Instead of going down here, we have, ISO requires us to train 18 hours a year on facility training. I built a facility out here on the Industrial Park Road. They're invited to every single training. We have fire college come down here about once every 2 months or once every 3 months. They never have attended a training. Now, some of this is required to keep your ISO levels down, so it helps with your homeowner's insurance. But they never have attended a training. The truck has not responded to the fires in probably 6 or 7 years. So it's nothing personal. We don't have anything against anybody out there in Cornerstone. I hate it for the people out there in Cornerstone, but you got to draw the line somewhere. You cannot keep on taking people's money and not put it to use. You can't keep taking taxpayers' money, the county money, and not put it to use. Last year we got $1,900 from forestry. We got $10,320 from ARPA money. So you're looking at $12,000, and the trucks are still sitting outside. The trucks are still not running. Nothing's been moved. Nothing's been done. So And we've tried to ask, well, do you not know how to operate the truck? Bring it to a training. Fitzpatrick just got a new truck. Saturday, that's how we did our training. We went over their new truck and we trained with it. We've asked them to do the same thing. Bring the truck up here. We'll test it out. We know what we're looking for. We'll help y'all. If you don't know how, we'll show you. Never once. So the association had to draw the line and decide that we'd have them be certified. And I told y'all when Miss Rivers was up here asking for it, that this fire, before you give them any money, you got to realize this fire department is in the midst of being decertified.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, just what you said, I'm trying to put it all together, the relationship with the volunteer department and Bullock County Commission. What are you requiring of Bullock County Commission by you decertifying this fire department? What are we called to do? You know what do we play in this here? I know we give them funds, we'll take action on that. Coming out next coming meeting about the funds they get, we'll take action on that. Based on the decertification letter, we'll take action according to that. Before this commissioner body, what do we do in relationship to volunteer fire department?
I don't think you're obligated to do anything other than no more cigarette or tobacco tax money. And also, I think it has to go to the probate judge of no more car tags being allotted to members of the Cornerstone Fire Department.
That's handled.
Okay. And that's all you're on the line for. Like I said, all the fire departments have tried to help.
Right. And I agree with everything you said. You did talk to, you did everything, and not to beat that dead horse. Cornerstone, we knew what we were facing, what we did not do. It was everything you told was true, and we couldn't. They didn't correct it. Wasn't correct, and this is what happens when you don't correct it. I'm not going to sit here and defend that, but they've been decertified, and we're going to move on from that. And I would carry this message to the chief, the acting chief, and the treasurer, whoever we need to talk to. I would take this to them. Like I stated earlier before, they lost their mother, so I would contact them personally and handle this and bring it back before the Bullock County Commission.
It's my understanding if you're not a 501c3 or 501c4, which usually stipulates fire departments and rescue departments, that any money you get, if you're not a tax-exempt corporation, you're going to have to pay taxes on that money. So they could be on the line for all that money that they've gotten to pay taxes on. So now, I mean, it's a bunch of legal stuff, and that's way above my pay grade on disbursement of this money or it coming back to the county. And also disbursement of the equipment if it was bought with taxpayer money. But I had to take someone else besides me to figure all that out.
I just want to talk, would y'all be willing, would y'all be willing to cover Cornerstone until we, work this out? Until y'all
We've actually been covering them for 7-8 years, and I think we missed one house fire because we didn't have anybody available.
Yes.
I will say probably so. We have always done it, but before I tell you that Fitzpatrick will definitely cover that area, I've got to go back to my board. But yes, I will do everything in my power to take care of it right now. And, you've got several options. I'll be glad to sit down with Commissioner Larkin and try to work out something, as far as them starting another department. We've offered this help to.
And that was my suggestion. Start with new. That was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I beg and plead, scrap what you had and what you were doing. Let's do it for new. So I understand, and we're gonna move forward from it.
Yeah. Fitzpatrick doesn't want to leave anybody under.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That's
why I just want to ask.
There are some options going back, I know Union Springs can't go back and get, and cover that area, but there's a couple of options out there. Redistricting is one. We have never had to do it, so we'll just have to figure out a way to do it with Almeria and Fitzpatrick. I know Union Springs can't leave the city limits, but there are some other options out there that you can do. And I'll be glad to work with y'all any way we can. I mean, we've been trying to work with Cornerstone for several years.
You have. Yes, sir.
This makes Eddie up here like help. Come in and help that area
Well,
in the
that's
past.
what, that's what I,
Yeah.
I didn't wanna leave them with nothing. So
No.
At least we got,
They come out and do this.
Please help us out.
I've just got to go back to my board and before I can say definitely, we're gonna cover it until it, but I'll do, I can get a truck off, I can do something until I get cleared for the board.
that's good, that's good.
But gentlemen, in the past, there were calls and Elmira, and it was too big. They gonna call, hey, can Joseph come over? Can Midway come over? So Midway help come in different areas, volunteer fire department. So they call one another if they need extra help, So there is some unity there amongst all the fire departments. All they gotta do is get on the radio and say, hey, we need another truck. Or they'll call Union Spring, and Union Spring will contact every fire department, and they kind of work together. So there are some unity there.
Okay.
But all fire departments are struggling,
Exactly.
all manpower. A lot of guys that got older and the younger generation, they just ain't getting involved.
And that's the issue that Almira is dealing with right now. They only have a couple of firefighters, but, just to show you, I mean, Fitzpatrick's actually gone all the way to Midway, back in Midway, so we don't mind helping.
Yes.
And the thing with, a lot of guys work with the funny platform like you do certain times of the season. They out of town, Other than the dedicated people, But anything else out there?
I got a question.
Yes, sir, Sheriff.
What district the airport come up on? Did you
Thompson
get a-
Cornerstone.
It's Thompson Cornerstone.
They gonna be important, get the plane.
That's why I asked. I wanna make sure that area be covered, because a plane could crash anything out there, and we know we all can come together.
We're going back, we're gonna come in with a house fire and stuff like that. We're not gonna leave them without, but, and I'll be honest, we had a couple of guys on our board that were upset because they weren't responding, and then, we're going over there responding.
They got joined, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. So, we'll deal with it.
I think if this agenda setting you're talking about that, I think you need to at least put on the agenda to discuss. We're dealing with government funding here and tax dollars that have been given to an entity that has not been operational in 7 or 8 years. And as the governmental body who's given those funds, we need to account for those funds, or somebody needs to account for those funds. And so I think the commission needs to at least put that on their agenda to decide what you're gonna do about it.
Mr. Turner?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, if you were to ask Thompson Cornerstone Volunteer Department, have they been inactive for 7, 8 years? They'll tell you no. That they've been active. So you're gonna come draw a line, what's active, inactive? If just answering a fire call is active, or having a truck out there on display active, or whatever it is, we're gonna run into that problem right there. Because I asked them that, and in their mind, we're active. So when you say inactive, to them, they've been active.
You cut the mud off.
Thank you.
But I mean, somebody's gotta account for where the money's been
And
spent.
that's what we had to, that's the next,
That's what we
at our
did.
next meeting, in 20 minutes, in the next 5 minutes, we're gonna vote on that.
At the reason.
And we're gonna take it up and go from there.
So that's already on the cover.
I actually mentioned to Commissioner Marlowe several months ago, y'all need to set up something that monitors every,
We're doing it.
audit
today.
every department.
We're doing it
That's on
today.
the agenda, that's what he gonna talk about. But, did you get your money, the money that we give you every year?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Okay. We got one more thing. It's important, John, this is still great to out here, amazing how everybody these people come in, talk about some scholarship. How can we get some scholarship? there's so much going on, so.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are y'all, and ladies? My name is Brent Mitchell with, it's actually Aquamarine, but it's Safety Shelter. Safety Shelter is the name of our company. This is my son, Dustin. He is our marketing and sales vice president in the company. We're,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yes, and he's the one that actually will talk to you and email you whenever questions are asked. We're here to actually give you a little information and answer any questions that you guys would like to ask about storm shelters. We've been doing this since 1995. We do residential and commercial storm shelters. We do shelters that are up to 555 people. They're a standalone unit. They're not designed as a multi-use. They are a storm shelter is what they are. They're all steel. They are Quonset hut style. They are above ground, makes them all handicap accessible. It's virtually indestructible as far as vandalism and of course by weather. They're 1/4-inch steel. It has an interior framework and then it's skinned with a 1/4-inch, and it has a very substantial foundation. We actually pour a 28-inch deep footer. It's a monolithic pad. They are rated for the 255-mile-an-hour wind and debris, and we've had a number of them that actually have been through storms. In the 2011, we actually have one that's at Phil Campbell that took a direct hit that had actually the mayor and 55 residents in that shelter. I've got a few more.
Yeah, anybody else?
Well, I want to say thank you for coming out. I found out about you on Facebook.
Gotcha.
So I reached out.
Yeah, I messaged, yes, sir. I was meeting you messaged, so.
Yeah, so, appreciate y'all taking, y'all come a long way. Handsome.
Yeah, Hartsville, yes, sir, about 3 hours.
Yeah. Thank you all for taking the time to come so far to meet with the commissioners and the community as well.
Thank you.
You know, do a presentation, maybe show us how we can possibly get some storm shelters that have been talked about. And also, I passed by a school that had a shelter. So that's something we might want to present to our school board. That's the great Scott and our EMA director. But anyway, that was our presentation to the commission.
Go ahead. We do a number of different sizes also to accommodate, what would be a community. We actually build single units, and then we build twins and triple, and they have an interconnect. The good thing about those is if you're going to have restrooms, instead of having to have restrooms in every unit, you can actually put a restroom in one, and then actually, it's something there that you really need to, and I say consider. It's just like anything else. It has to be maintained, and it has to be taken care of. And the less nuts and bolts that you have to turn, the easier it is to actually maintain that unit. They do have a dehumidifier that actually keeps down any condensation on the interior of them. They have battery backup systems or generator that actually will run off of natural gas and or LP that actually has an automatic switching system to when you lose power, it'll automatically bring up power for the unit that has lighting and forced air ventilation in that unit. Go ahead.
Are you guys looking at pursuing like hazard mitigation funds from FEMA to purchase these, or are you looking at funding them?
Well, we don't want to know all avenues or possibilities of how can we purchase some possibilities.
That's what we call.
Right.
Mr. FEMA.
Right.
All right, contact me.
Thing is, we've had discussions concerning the getting these and the pros and cons about getting it. And the number one pros and cons was utilization fact that maintaining them. And that's why at any point I really hadn't reached out to ask about these, because the utilization of the safety areas that we have right now is almost zero to minimum. And as far as the county determining if they want to purchase these and maintain these was the main reason, like I said earlier, that I hadn't called. So this was actually a surprise to me today, so I didn't. And as far as funding, I've talked with other EMA departments and they told me how they will manage to get funded. But from talking to other EMA departments, it's the same reason that, you know, we were trying to determine would this be a cost-effective situation. So, like I said, we could look into it more. We all getting ready to rework on our hazard mitigation plan. And I can talk with other EMA officers to see what has happened. But right now, this was not it.
Just as and I'm just putting something out there to you, we talk about the maintaining and what is shelter management as much as anything. What we do see, especially on the rural, and that's what this shelter was basically designed for. It wasn't designed for downtown Birmingham or downtown Montgomery. It was designed for rural areas that where it's a cost-effective unit to be able to give protection to residents. And most of them are actually placed very close, if not onto the property of the volunteer fire department. So you have one of your volunteers that are actually, you know, there to serve the community. It also gives them the ability that if they themselves don't have, you know, what is a protected area for their family, you know, they can actually bring their family, they go to the shelter, and I say husband, dad, brother actually goes and does service for the community, you know, during that moment of need and that weather-related type of accident or incident. But it gives you the opportunity, or it gives them the opportunity, not something else they have to take care of, and it's a very minimum amount of maintenance. It's not something that absolutely will overwhelm any department. It's just a matter of if you maintain that dehumidifier, and the idea that, you know, if it's you have your individuals that come in, you know, during a weather-related, and then, you know, probably have to have, it goes back to that management. You have trash cans in there, you know, most do not let pets, you know, because some people, you know, some shelters will, as long as they're in a small container or a small carrier that actually would fit underneath the seat, but most do not, because a lot of people do have allergies to those animals or to an animal. So it's designed for personnel. Just as an example, a 10 by 48 by FEMA standards. Now that it's 3 square feet per person standing, 5 square feet per person seated, and then it's 10 square feet per person for a wheelchair-bound individual. And the shelters allow what is, for effective reasons, is basically 2 wheelchairs, you know, in a shelter, and then the idea that without a restroom, that shelter will easily protect what is 96 people. Moment of pinch, I guarantee you could probably put almost 200 people in that shelter. You'll be elbow to elbow, but it's not one of those. It's not like a hurricane shelter. It's not something for long term. It's going to be for a short term event, and you get done with the weather, and everybody goes home. It's there to protect for flying debris and hail and materials that are actually thrown by the storm.
I have a question, sir.
Yes.
I was looking at last week when Dallas County Jail got bust out this road. My question is, could it be like an add-on for a safety net to a jail? I know that we have a tornado headed towards the jail, and I can get my inmates to go in this storm shelter, without going outside.
You know, and again, it goes back to if it's state funded, federal funded, or by FEMA, sometimes it has to be the idea that it has to be open to the community. Now, you put it in a secured area that's in, a jail, and I say a yard, of the jail system. Yes, it's very much so. They don't have to leave that area. They go in. It's the same type of thing that we do with corporations. Okay, a lot of corporations, especially, I know you guys heard about, what was the Amazon and the candle factories from up in the Illinois area that were struck. Those guys didn't have any protection, and they wanted their employees to stay and not lose, that productivity. And from 2011, it has been one of our big, and I say big push toward the corporative side. And I mean, we even ourselves, we're not a huge company, but we do have about 25 employees, and we have a storm shelter. And it's the idea that it's just like the other day when Dallas County got hit. Our guys all went in. In fact, even our neighbors, some of the people that are actually in the building areas actually came over and utilized our shelter. But the guys go in the shelter, you have a period of time of 30 minutes, 45 minutes, all clear, and everybody goes back to work. And instead of sending somebody off, to leave, a facility, and the idea that they get hurt or killed, on the way home, that they actually have a place to be able to stay at. And it's the same way that whether it's, for a school, another type of institution, that you actually have a shelter there, everybody goes to it, after it's clear, you either go home or go back to work or whatever you want to do. But it does give you a different avenue as opposed to just say, guys, you need to go home. State property, that's a little bit of a different animal in itself when you start talking about schools. I don't know if you guys deal with that, but when you do have to get what is ABC, Alabama Building Commission, involved in that. And we've done them before. It's not a pleasant, I hate to say it's not a real pleasant type of venture, but there's a lot more just red tape that goes with it. But we do shelters that are grant funded, from the state. So we do qualify for that. We are AMHC certified, and that's the Alabama Mobile Home Commission is what that is. And we are, it sounds odd that we're actually regulated by the mobile home industry, but what we are actually I'm prefab, thank you. We are a prefab building, and so when we actually come out, that we're just regulated and we're certified by them. And so there's another entity there that's taking care of, when we put a shelter in, that there's actually a watchman out there that's watching what we're doing, that, for the community and for what would be even taxpayers' money. We have a third-party inspector that's totally separate from everything else. They come in, they do an inspection on all community shelters for us at our facility. When we get ready to put one in at your site, when we dig the foundation, get everything ready, there's actually a state inspector will come out, inspect that, sign us off on that foundation. We'll pour that concrete, and after we come back and set that shelter and get it all anchored down, they come back and they'll actually do a final for that. So there's a watchman out there. So we're not just somebody who, is in the backyard, building a shelter. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Now what about residential? You install those?
Well, we do, yep, go ahead.
How can residential, program or whatever they
Well, it's kind of the same thing. You guys can decide whether you want to apply for hazard, if you're gonna go that route, hazard mitigation, it can be distributed to the residents, and they, you know, it's X amount of dollars up to a certain amount or percentage of the cost of the shelter, or you can do it and put in community shelters.
This is if I want one for my personal house, just me.
Oh, if you just want to, yeah, if you just want to, I say, now, as far as an individual grant, it would have to be,
I mean, just for a person, like, you got something out there that might be interested.
right.
How can they?
Well, they get, you know, as far as, I can bring any of these, I can send some more down here. I mean, you can just call an order from us, just as, you know, you buy anything. It would, but if they want to go pursue a grant, it actually has to come through the EMA of your county. So the county has to acquire the funds, and then they are responsible for distributing those to the residents or using that for commercial shelters. Now, if somebody in the county just wants to order a shelter from us, they just call the office and you can order a shelter.
I want to be able to help still some individuals, because some people just.
Right.
They own as well.
Well, and that's the thing about, I mean, with the FEMA, a lot of times it's 1 to 2 years by the time you start the process to when you finally get the funding to move forward with the shelter. So, you know, if somebody's wanting one now, you're just gonna be, from right now, if you started, it's probably gonna be 2 years for you to have a shelter, provided by FEMA grant money.
Well, Commissioner Adams, you know, I look at reading the newspaper. I would like to put some information, get into sort of citizens, if they want one, just, a lot of people don't like to leave their house anyway.
All right.
Is that all right? Commissioner Adams? Y'all do some advertising.
Sure.
But I love to make sure we get the word out in this area that, you know, that citizens can also purchase their home as well.
Right.
Is that right? Any other questions?
Well, we didn't get a price on
On the commercial, we, well, you know, you guys, anything over 50,000 will be bid. So we don't give hard prices for that reason. Now, we can give you budgetary figures, which if you pursue FEMA grants, we will assist with the paperwork in that process. A lot of counties reach out to us. There are questions that have to be answered about the shelters, the ground disturbance, all of that. You know, we'll provide that information for the paperwork. We also provide you with a budgetary figure.
Blueprints.
Yeah, you have to have the drawing, engineer drawings to go along with that to acquire the funds. A 10 by 56, if you did a chemical, or a 10 by 48, 100-person shelter, we offer a chemical bath. It's a curtain partition with like a chemical toilet. We were in the, like about $140,000 range for that. If you want to go with a full wet bath, flushable toilets and all that, you're going to be in the $150,000, $160,000 range. And then, you know, there's smaller shelters, there's, you know, larger, and then we do interconnected. I mean, there's a ton of options. So it kind of just depends on what fits you guys' needs. If, you know, you're gonna do one large shelter for the community, or if you're spread out and you're gonna do smaller ones based around the island. You guys said you had 8 fire departments. If you know, we're gonna put one at each fire department, something like that.
with the person.
The ones that go in your garage are gonna start at about, you're probably gonna be around 7,000. That is delivered and installed. And then the outdoor ones are a good bit more because we have to come out and pour a concrete foundation. You're probably gonna be in the $11,000, $12,000 range on those.
How much does FEMA grant cover, or if we want one in the community, how far will the FEMA grant reach in financing for this?
It's still 80-20.
Well, and again, you need to, it comes back to kind of with the EMA director can very well find out those figures. It's always been, what is it, 75-25? So, you know, FEMA 75%, 25% comes from the community. But there's also some governor money that actually can come, and additional money that can come that can pay even that 25%. You know, we've known some communities that actually get shelters that it actually doesn't cost the community anything. There very much so used to be, and we work with the community on that, and what is in-kind money. So, you know, you could actually, you know, one thing is the property that actually is going to go on has a value. That can be part of the in-kind that shelter's going to. If you've got, and I'm saying this, someone of that community who's a plumber or electrician that can actually, I'm saying whether it's donating their time, but they also are able to use that number toward what is the purchase of that shelter. And so that helps the community also. So, you know, there's a connection that's made to the bathroom, or there's a final electrical connection, or the gas has actually gone to the generator. So there's a few things that used to be a lot more, and I would say until AMHC actually kind of got involved in that. And not that we've ever changed any of our design, it's just become more complicated with them to the point where we have to utilize, we can do all of our wiring at our facility. It actually comes as a prefab unit, it's completed, except for the foundation. We come in and we set that with a crane, and then we'll actually anchor that to the concrete, and then it has what is the final connection for whether it's water and sewer or electrical and gas.
Commissioner, if volunteer fire department wanted one, that's government property. We can all service, it won't be on private property. So if we ever get to that point.
And the county can do, you know, what is that building of I'll say the buildable area, you know, the dirt pad itself, getting it to that point, whether it's scraping off the organic or being able to bring fill in to be able to build that pad. You know, it goes back to that point also. You don't want to, need to be careful with restrooms, because that is something else that you have to maintain. If it's 15 degrees outside, it's going to be 15 degrees in that shelter. You know, there's no climate control inside that shelter. Now, it doesn't get hot like this in the same manner. It stays cool, you know, as far as the shelter itself, but also that's why we have, what is that, ventilation, you know, that forced air ventilation, so when you do have a number of people in it, you know, we have found that, and majority of those that actually ever go one time, you know, you may think, well, it's gonna get hot in there with all those people. You're having that major weather changes, going from cold to hot, hot to cold. People that actually come there, the second time they ever come, they'll either bring a jacket or a blanket. It gets very cool inside that shelter, just because it mainly is pulling that cool damp air, you know, through that shelter. And that's why that dehumidifier is there. Once everybody leaves, it actually will maintain any moisture, so you don't have mold or mildew in that shelter.
Well, I might cut you off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Get into a meeting.
Sure.
If you would just stay with us, we can do it our regular meeting. If any other questions, because I'd like to talk with you after anyway. Is that okay, Commissioner?
Meeting shouldn't be last long, but our agenda shouldn't be long.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bullock County Commission, regular meeting Tuesday, January 24th, 2023.
Roll call.
Chairman Ellis
Here.
Commissioner Watkins. Present. Commissioner Adams. Here. Commissioner Gallo.
Here.
Commissioner Marlowe Jr.
Here.
Chairman Waters. Here. We have a quorum.
Mr. Martin, read for the prayer. We'll get in for a prayer and pledge allegiance.
This morning, dear Heavenly Father, we come thanking you for the many blessings you have restored us with, dear Heavenly Father. Come right now, dear Heavenly Father, asking you to be with us in this meeting, dear Heavenly Father. Give us the wisdom and knowledge and understanding, Heavenly Father, to do what's right, dear Heavenly Father. Actually, Heavenly Father, go with our citizens, dear Heavenly Father. Bless the ones, dear Heavenly Father, that don't lost a loved one, dear Heavenly Father. Put your hands of protection around them, Heavenly Father. Let them know, dear Heavenly Father, that you got all power, and that you don't do nothing, dear Heavenly Father, to harm us. Everything you do, to help us, dear Heavenly Father. Be blessed, in your Son Jesus' name. Amen.
Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Gentlemen, we have a motion to approve the agenda. First today, and I need you to make it.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the agenda.
Got a motion by Mr. Gamble, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Marlowe, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Minutes for December 22.
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve December 22 minutes, 2 sets.
That's a motion by Mr. Marlowe, have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Marlowe, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay. Expenditures for December.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve December 22 county expenditures.
Got a motion by Mr. Marlowe, have a second.
Second.
By Mr. Gamble, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Storage space. Ms. Reed. Storage.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I had asked you all sometime a couple of months ago to, provide me with some storage space, and I didn't know where we were at this point. I had looked around to see, I don't know what the county has or what, but where I was with that.
Mr. Chairman, I guess, as far as your storage space, Ms. Reed,
Uh-huh,
do you have something, a place, you're trying to store all of the records,
right,
physical records.
right.
Now, to store those records, do they have to comply with some type of rule or law?
They do.
Where-
They
Okay.
do.
So what we on that to find out, where, can we put them in a building next door, or what's the, where
We
can we do it?
could, and as you and I talked earlier, we would like to have them stored somewhere close by. You know, or we could, maybe this summer, maybe we could, download them on a file. But some of it can't be downloaded, it just needs to be stored.
Okay. All right. Find, you looking for the commissioner to find a building, or what you need us at?
But I wanted us to work together.
Okay. All right,
But
as far
you
as the
would-
county property, I think you need a list of that, see what's
Yeah,
available.
that's what I was just gonna ask, do you have a list of property available?
Okay. It may not be compliant with the record commission. So we gotta do, whatever we do, we gotta get along with what the record commission says.
Yes.
Where we can put them in the vicinity, how far,
Right.
what we can do.
All kinds of issues.
Yes, ma'am, that's exactly.
I know you were saying that you were gonna probably download some electronically, so the ones that you download by law, you can't shred the remaining physical copies? Once
I
you-
can.
You can, oh, okay. Gotcha.
So I guess we'll get a list of available properties for you.
Okay.
Possibly that will fit your needs, because we need what you say.
And it's, you know, a good storage area,
Okay.
because we don't want the rain or whatever, like it's happening upstairs to our records, we can't even get up there to see them. So wherever we put them, I hope, you know, it'll be there all right.
Okay.
Anything else?
You said you still gonna work with me? I know at one time you was gonna call up Montgomery, but I never could get them to answer the phone.
I did contact someone out of our archives and history building, and they said at this point, they're not willing to take on any new records.
Right.
But they also have some guidelines as to what can be destroyed and what cannot be destroyed.
Right.
So, if that's something you're interested in looking at, they said they would have to go over that, or even if you have a specific record, you wanna ask them, they'll tell you if it can be destroyed or not. So, but the biggest thing, I was kinda hoping they might wanna take some home and preserve them, but they said they just don't have room and they're not taking records like that.
Also, Mr. Chairman, I sent you a business card for Access. It's a company in Montgomery,
Okay.
and they have governments just like ours, store, physical store, or scan, whatever the needs may be. It's called Access, and I'll send it to you again with the contact information.
You sent it to me, or?
I sent it,
Okay.
I just took a screenshot and sent it to you.
Oh, okay.
If it's,
Okay.
your cell number is the same.
It's fine.
Okay, I already sent it to you, you can contact them, maybe they can come up with a solution, and we can bring it before the commission next week and vote on it. And we may not have to go out and get a physical building, because that's what they do. They do government record retention. It's a company called Access. It's located in Montgomery. Okay.
Anyone else want to work with us? I mean, for volunteers.
We all working with you.
Okay, thank you. That's what I want to hear. Thank you.
Commissioner Ball, you wanted to show me how to be?
Item number D, we discussed this, last agenda session about any monies that we give to any nonprofit from Bullock County Commission that we require a financial report from them, where it be quarterly or at our discretion at any moment, any time. That's require financial statements from any nonprofit entity that we disperse money to.
Is that a form of motion?
Yes, sir.
Motion by Commissioner Marlowe, have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Marcus, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You want
Traveling, Jason had to leave, and he said, text me and said, could we table that until the next week, because he had to go to another meeting.
Commissioner Gowan, wasn't on there.
No, I don't want to, we wanted to table it until we came up with something, so Jason's recommended we table it, until we can get back and discuss it, so I'll make a motion, Chairman, that we table the driveway policy until our next meeting.
Okay, that's a motion to table.
Second.
By Commissioner Gowan, second by Commissioner Allen, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that's just, he asked us to approve this in ATM money. So, gentlemen,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table the ATL project to, for a later date.
I have a motion to table.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Gowan, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Now that we table that, let's see when we can meet and discuss this project prior to us bringing it back up, maybe 7 days, if we can.
Okay, let's see if we're available. The report that we needed probably won't be ready until, from Carl and Company, first part of next week. So let's schedule, is February 2nd work for everybody?
Actually, you'd be in class.
February 2nd, what about February?
It's not, a regular meeting.
No, we just work session.
Yeah, because I'll be in class in a practice.
Is there any question y'all want to ask Patrick financial, since he's usually funny like that? Let's get that when he come back.
Yeah, we certainly need the financials to see what the money look like, because in this work session, I want to see what we're gonna be able to do in the next 6 years, based on the money coming in, and how we're going.
February 7th?
When would you be back?
That's our meeting day.
First
No,
or
no,
second, I'll be back.
No, that's the first.
Friday, I'm Friday, is when class is when.
Everybody's hands on Fridays.
No, excuse me, I'm here Friday, Wednesday and Thursday in class. Yeah,
February 3rd?
yeah, that's good, that's Friday.
February 3rd, 9 o'clock.
You go with me?
February 3rd, 9 o'clock work session.
You want me to contact Mountain County for this work session, Commissioner
If
County?
you could, yeah, and see if he could be there with us.
Okay.
And,
All right.
be helpful.
Guys, in this work session, we already discussed the, salary of the, road department. Do we need to discuss another department
Yes, good
in this
point.
work session too? So let's
Yes, sir.
do the, commissioner office.
I agree.
Information on that,
Can you bring up?
yeah, for the office.
That's the third, okay.
We said we can do all of them on one day. As far as
You want me to-
probate.
You wanna do all of them?
All in one day. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
well, we'll do all, each other department then.
Yes, sir.
All right,
You
that'll work.
need no time to get with those department heads?
Just next week.
We just signed an email, the plan, they already have a plan.
Yeah, just send an email out.
Yeah, no, just send them that, see what I need to property.
Anything else? We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.